Hi everyone, welcome back to our kitchen. Good day to you. Before we get started though, and before you get comfortable, we gotta go on a little trip. Back at the bookshelf again. And well, I can pick any cookbook, any recipe I want, right? I can make anything I damn well please today. That is the core essence of what I'm trying to do over here with Spine and Dine. So it's like, okay, well, what am I thinking? How would I like to spend the rest of my day? There's this. Great British Cooking, A Well-Kept Secret by Jane Garmy. It's a cookbook that, well, I don't really know how I came into possession of it. I do, but also it just sort of showed up one day. So this book is making the case for British food. It's telling you not to be afraid of British food. And I'm not, but I know that it's kind of a stereotype out there, you know, British food is bad food. I don't know, maybe that's just kind of a product of when this book was published, which was 1981. Is it still kind of a thing? I don't know. Anyway, I lived in London for around a year during a terrible time in history to live in London, and that was during the COVID lockdowns. Anyone? Anyone? There's nobody here. So the entire city was mostly under extreme lockdowns. While I was living there, I was kind of just holed up in my flat, making this cute little show here. I saw this on a cooking show once. Right, I didn't make a whole lot of British food, so the British food that I did get an opportunity to eat was when the city would open up, and then, you know, you could dine at a restaurant that had a max occupancy of 20%. Do you remember this moment in history? I try to forget about it. It's compartmentalized at the back of my brain here. I don't go back there too often. I'm going to now, because I'm gonna list off a bunch of food here, and I think I might have photos on my phone. So if there's a photo attached to what I'm about to say, cut to it, okay? Proper English breakfast. There was a Sunday roast with the Yorkshire pudding and everything. Oh, fish and chips with mushy peas, pub meat pie, steak and ale pie, and a sticky toffee pudding that I think I cried when I ate it. Anyway, what we're talking about here is British food from restaurants. But Jane Garmy here, is making the case that the good British food is home cooking, which I didn't get an opportunity to eat. So when you're flipping through this cookbook, it is recipes compiled of just that. And you're seeing a lot of things that, well, like I just mentioned, or things like shepherd's pie, classic. There's also, this is a recurring trend throughout the book, a lot of recipes that I have no idea what they are, and they have some of the funniest sounding, hilariously unique British things I've ever heard of in my life. Like, what the hell is a call mam goo? I'm not gonna make that, but that's a perfect example. Now, this is what I was thinking here, is I'm gonna pick 4 of these types of recipes. I don't know what they are, I just bought all the ingredients for them. And the rest is just gonna be a bit of a journey of discovery. By the end of this video, I hope to be, and I hope we all are, a little wiser. So we're gonna start off with Scotch Woodcock. So this is apparently a glorified version of scrambled eggs. In addition to being an agreeable savory, it can hold its own at any brunch. Hence why we're starting with it. So, bowl me. Thank you. Eggs into the bowl. I'm gonna be using 3, and then I need 2 tablespoons of a light cream, pinch of salt, and a crack of pepper. Okay, beat it, just beat it. I'm gonna use a non-stick pan, low heat on that mofo. So melt a tablespoon and a half of butter. Okay, while I watch that butter melt here, I got 2 pieces of bread that I'm just gonna toast them. If you need more directions on that, let me know. On a low heat, pour in the eggs, stirring constantly, and I'm just gonna cook these scrambled eggs the way I like them. You don't wanna overcook them, you wanna take them off while they're still on the runny side. because they're gonna continue to cook while they're doing that. Burn your toast, put that aside. Prepare some more toast. Butter your slices of toast, slice it, and put the toast slices onto the plate. Anchovy paste onto the toast, spread it. And that was around like a tablespoon. Okay, those eggs look really nice. This is like a runnier scrambled egg onto each slice of toast. Anchovy fillets, or as they say in Britain, fillets. Roll up the anchovy fillet and then one goes onto each slice of bread there. With some watercress, the leaves of watercress, that's what I'm gonna do here, is I just garnish. No, you're not. You're gonna take a knife to the leaves of the watercress, and you're just gonna give it a nice, chop. Now you're just gonna garnish. Yeah. Order up! Easy, simple, delicious. The addition of the intense saltiness from the paste and the fillets of the anchovy, nice fishy saltiness going on. I thought that is a very good combination with eggs and toast. So yeah, it's a good recipe to have in your back pocket. I'm sure it's got to be fairly popular overseas in the UK, but here, I've never seen it before. You want to look like you know what you're doing when you're making some glorified brunch. You whip out your Scotch Woodcock recipe. Let's move on. So today we're sponsored by Bombas, which is the most comfortable sock in history. See, the cornerstone to a successful day for me relies heavily on how my feet are feeling. You know, whether they're too hot or too cold, it can really just send my whole day askew. But Bombas socks have found a way to keep my feet feeling in the zone throughout the day. I mean, they got me covered for whatever Jamie I feel like being. How about boot cut? Low cut? Athletic cut? Yeah, Bombas spent 2 years in research and development testing these bad boys for comfort and for durability. Very breathable, made from premium materials. Also, it's for the right cause. When you purchase Bombas socks, they donate a pair to someone in need. And they offer a 100% happiness guarantee. If you don't like them, Bombas offers free returns or exchanges for any reason. Also, Bombas offers international shipping to over 200 countries. So whether you're in the US or the Philippines, you can rock your Bombas socks all around the town square. You can pick up your pair by heading over to bombas.com/antichef and use the code antichef at checkout for 20% off your first purchase. Thank you, Bombas. Okay, so we're gonna make something called the Bosworth Jumbles coming up next. This is the Bosworth Jumbles, everyone. Richard III sustained several losses at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. First, he dropped his crown, which was picked up by the Earl of Richmond, who that evening became Henry VII. Then his cook mislaid the recipe for his favorite biscuits, which have been known ever since as the Bosworth Jumbles. So jumbling around with the biscuits, I guess. And then later in the day, Richard even lost his life. So it's not really a happy ending with that story. That being said, we're making 12 to 15 biscuits. Okay, so can I have the bowl? Me, please? Thank you. So here is 6 ounces, 1.5 sticks of butter. It is softened, as well as 1.5 ounces of sugar, which this came to around 3.5 tablespoons. Arm yourself with the granny, and I'm gonna get mixing until this is light and fluffy. Until it's light and fluffy. I realize I should have used a smaller bowl, but it's too late. 2 eggs. It's kind of doing a bowl switcheroo here because I wasn't really enjoying my experience with that. 2 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I got sifted in. Quick mix here. Okay, I can work with that. So I need a well-greased baking pan. Shape the dough into small S's. Shape the dough into small S's, okay. Switch to the parchment paper because just avoid the problems. Small S shape. I don't know what the S stands for. Richard III. I don't know what the S stands for. Okay, so it does make 12 to 15 biscuits, apparently. I guess it depends on how much you want to fiddle around with these and make them smaller or whatever, but I think that's a good size for the biscuits that I make, the Bosworth Jumbles that I'm making here today. So, got my S shapes. I have 7 in total. I think that's a good 7 S's, 7 deadly sins, 7 deadly Bosworth Jumbles. The oven set to 350 degrees F. I'm gonna bake these for around 25 minutes until they're golden brown. So keep your eye on it. So your Bosworth Jumble here is a tea biscuit. You enjoy it with a cup of tea. It's builder's tea. So cheers. Not a whole lot going on with the Bosworth Jumble. There's not a whole lot going on with it. The flavor is fairly just kind of not a whole lot going. If you wanted to make this thing stand out a little more, you could probably add a little more sugar, maybe a little more butter so that it's not as crumbly. I don't know, but also, you know what? It is what it is. It is a nice little tea biscuit because, well, enjoying it with a cup of tea, and I'm like, okay, that's where the Bosworth Jumble's at. All of a sudden, I can understand where Richard III is coming from. Richard III is coming from. He said it was one of his favorite biscuits, and in 1485, okay, everything I just said, I still don't understand why it's shaped like an S. So we're gonna move on to something called Bubble and Squeak. Since I've heard of it before, that means that it's probably the more popular of the bunch that I'm making today. That being said, I'm unfamiliar with it. I don't know what it looks like. I've never had it before, obviously, and it's still kind of got a funny name. So I gotta make it. This recipe gets its name from the bubbling and the squeaking that takes place while it's cooking. So we'll be listening. Bubble and Squeak was much in evidence during the Depression since it's an economical dish and also an excellent way of using leftover vegetables. Bits of cold meat can be added to this recipe if you'd like. I don't have the cold meat on hand, so we're just gonna veto that. Serve with Wow Wow sauce. Well, I gotta make that because it's called Wow Wow sauce, so totally, there's a whole bunch of Bubble and Squeak recipes on the internet. You know, just when you search Bubble and Squeak, a whole bunch of them pop up. I didn't look at any of them because I'm like, okay, I want to follow the book. It just says 4 cups of cooked mashed potatoes. That's what you need here. So I'm gonna start off with whatever potato. This is a Yukon Gold whatever potato. And I'm opting to peel my potatoes today. It's my choice. Cut these down to size and then get them into a big pot. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna use a head of cabbage here. Core it. I need around 4 cups worth of chopped into small pieces. Cover the potatoes and the cabbage with salted water. So I'm gonna boil both of these down until they have softened. Potatoes, what, like 15, 20 minutes? I don't know how long this is taking, but until I consider it cooked. Remember, we're serving our Bubble and Squeak with the sauce. Wow, wow. So in the cookbook, there is no recipe for it. It just says to serve it. So I found a recipe online for Wow Wow sauce. It's on wikibooks.org. It is a sauce apparently created by Dr. William Kitchener in the early 19th century. So this is the couple interesting ingredients I got for this Wow Wow sauce: mushroom ketchup and pickled walnuts. Pickled walnuts. Let's start off with that. Pickled walnuts preserved in a rich spiced malt vinegar. I don't know why I took a spoonful of that. Actually, you know what? Why don't you have a taste? Does not taste like a walnut, mostly just tastes like something that is pickled. Anyway, what we gotta do here is I'm just gonna chop it up. I am very curious what mushroom ketchup is for pies, puddings, and sauces. This rich cooking ingredient was the secret success for many Victorian cooks. I have not the foggiest, but I like to experiment with things that I'm unfamiliar with. Oh, it's like a very saltier version of Worcestershire sauce. Feel that tang. So in a saucepan, I got a piece of butter here. In goes a tablespoon of flour. Flour into the butter, cook it like a minute. And then I got 1 cup of beef broth. Do bring it up to a boil, or what? It doesn't say. It just says add the beef broth, but I feel like maybe I'll just bring it up to a quick boil. Okay, once that's boiling, let me turn it down to simmer. Add in a tablespoon of vinegar, around a tablespoon of English mustard. Better hold on to something here. There's a tablespoon of the mushroom ketchup. So I give that a simmer until it's as thick as you wish. It says add in finely chopped parsley. It doesn't specifically say, so I'm gonna say around 2 tablespoons worth. Oh, don't forget about the pickled walnut. This is 2 to 3 chopped. 2 to 3 chopped. And just warm everything through. That's Wow Wow sauce. Let's see what this is all about here. Wow, kind of has a horseradish flavor to it with mustard and parsley. Chopped pickled walnuts. Sorry, I got parsley in the throat too. Cooked cabbage. Cooked potatoes. We gotta mash them. Can I just have like another bowl? Thank you. Need around 4 cups of cooked cabbage. And I'm gonna take around the same amount of mashed potato. Some salt up in there. Freshly ground black pepper. Okay. We'll need a large frying pan. Heat on that mofo. 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Oil is heated up. In goes the veggies. It's gonna be big enough? Yes. Okay. So press down on the vegetables to form some flat cake. Now remember that this dish is called bubbling and squeaking because of what happens while it's cooking. Apparently it's supposed to bubble and squeak. And I gotta cook it until the first side is lightly browned. I hear the squeaking. There's bubbling. And they're squeaking. It checks out. It doesn't give you a ballpark of when this is done or when I should be flipping it over, so I don't know if it's browning or not. Okay, so what's about to happen here is gonna be by far the most difficult thing I gotta do today. I gotta turn this over, cook on the other side. And I don't know how I'm supposed to flip this without like destroying it. So I gotta think outside the box here. That could work. Wish me luck. Well, I'm gonna load up the pan with a little more olive oil, and then I'm gonna somehow shimmy this into there. Fully appreciating that this is like a recipe that you can just add whatever you have on hand in the kitchen. At first I was gonna add some onion in here, but then I realized that the onion was bad, so no onion. But in the fridge, I have this, which is some leftover farmhouse cheddar. I didn't take a bite out of that. That's just, I don't know what happened. Anyway, this is leftover from the Thomas Keller grilled cheese video. Do you remember that? And I figure, since this is like a British ingredient, I could grate some on top and then I'll get the broiler going. So it's been around 20 minutes in total, 10 minutes per side. I don't know, I've just been like looking for when it's brown underneath, and it for sure is, but I don't want to flip it upside down again. What I'm gonna do is get this under the broiler for a few minutes so that it gets brown on top. My idea. Of course, my broiler's all the way down here. Here it comes. Don't forget the Wow Wow sauce. I feel like you could just serve that in the pan like that. So I'm just gonna leave it. But how about some of that fresh parsley on top? Order up! Oh my. Okay, very good. Very, very good. Okay, so this freaking Wow Wow sauce is quite literally that. I can't imagine the Bubble and Squeak without it, so I should probably have a little bit of a reminder. Potatoes and cabbage. I mean, just how many cultures use those two ingredients in so many things. But there is a lot of different avenues you can go. You could add onion or bacon, or if you wanted to start a party, you could add butter. So it was very bare bones, but it was still just like, sometimes that's all you need. Because this thing didn't have a lot going on, and this has so much flavor in it with the super tangy. It's the combination here is just something to die for. Like if you didn't have the internet, I don't know how you would get a hold of this recipe because it's not in the book. Oh. The sauce recipe is in the book. I did not see that because she mentions Wow Wow sauce, but she doesn't have like a page to go to, so I didn't think it was in here. It is Wow Wow sauce. It is a bit different than the one I followed because this book has been adapted for American cooks, so she has kept that in mind. You're not gonna find the mushroom ketchup, so I went above and beyond with mine. That's okay, because I think I liked mine. I liked mine. Judging by its name, this sauce must have caused something of a sensation when it first made its appearance in the London chop houses of the early 19th century. It has now become associated with Bubble and Squeak, with which it goes very well. I agree. So we're gonna cap off a very terrific day with some flummery. I said flummery. It's a rather improbable sounding name of a slippery white custard jelly. This is an old recipe with many variations. This version uses a combination of ground and chopped almonds. Spoke too soon there. They're not chopped yet. Now they are chopped. We need a saucepan. So here's 2 cups of heavy cream. This is 1 cup of light cream. You're gonna need my pills for this dessert, but we'll get to that. This is a 1/4 cup of ground almonds, which is just almond flour, and a 1/4 cup of the chopped almonds, and a 1/4 cup of sugar. You need 5 drops of almond extract. Whoop, count the drops. Be careful, you're risking a lot on 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop, 5 drop. I don't know, like a medium-ish heat, and I have to heat this gently and bring it up to a boil. Okay, got it to a boil. Turn off the heat, turn off the heat. Stop, 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 stop. Close call. Yeah, so just let that cool. Okay, next up, 2 envelopes of gelatin. Should come to around 2 tablespoons worth of gelatin, 2 tablespoons of boiling water. Dissolve it together. I am gonna add in the dissolved gelatin into the mix here. Come on, gelatin, you gotta break up. So it's dissolving now into this mixture, which is cooled off a little bit, but still fairly hot. So in the cookbook, this is what it says to do. pour this mixture into like a bigger jelly mold, like if you want. Like I could pour it into my Charlotte mold here, you know, and then you could unmold that if you want to go that route. But I have these really rather posh Jello molds here for single servings. I think it would be a novel. Hello?
Hi, James. This is Liz.
Okay, so pour that in. So obviously that was meant to be. Look at that. Chopped almonds here have sunk to the bottom of the saucepan. They weren't included, so we'll include them. Damn it. Yeah, I mean, when these turn into jelly, obviously those almonds are going to be sinking to the bottom of these molds too, but that's just what happens with the flummery, so I'm cool with it. Okay, so once those are all covered with aluminum foil, it says, flummery's in the fridge, they gotta chill overnight. It's not something that we can have today, so that's okay, the flummery can wait. Okay. I'm done for the day. See you tomorrow. Is the next day. I have removed the foil from the flummeries. Instead, I found an alternative way of covering these up. Because as you can see, the tin foil was getting all up into the flummery custard jelly, and I didn't want that. I only need one. So I have a bowl of hot water here, and I'm just gonna dunk this in there for a few moments. I'm in no rush. For son of a... There it is. That looks not great. Surround with lots of fresh raspberries and strawberries. So there they are. Order up! Meh. I'll be honest with you. The flummery sounds a lot more fun than it actually is. You know, maybe it was a really big standout dessert at one point in time, way back when, but in 2025, it's just kind of getting lost in the shuffle here. I don't even think I'll remember it tomorrow. That's like a slippery white custard jelly. That's what it was, no more, no less. It really just had a very big flavor of cream with some flavor of almond, and then clusters of raw almonds just all in one spot at the bottom of this thing. So it was just like, I called that. I said that they were gonna sink. Oh, they sunk. Anyway, yeah, flummery, not really, you know, not my cup of tea, although I had a great cup of tea with the Bosworth Jumbles. Okay, you know, wanted to end this on a high note. We're not as high as I was hoping, but we still gotta end this. So, started with the Scotch Woodcock, moved on to the Bubbles and Squeak with the Wow Wow sauce, and then the Bosworth Jumbles with a cup of tea. For dessert, flummery. This was Spine and Dine, episode 4. Bon appetit. Au revoir.